Okay, so the second part is about miracles, as you can see from there are a number of different kinds of miracles in the text, one of which is what I've talked about initially as being magic realism, which is a term that's reserved usually for literature from South America, and often people point to Jorge Luis Borges or Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and both Borges and Marquez and Italo Calvino, who is Italian. Oh man, I mean there are Isabel Allende. There are a number of there are actually many people who write this kind of story where, as I say, magical events occur and are sort of accepted as being part of the thing that happens. Laura Esquivel's text, like Water for Chocolate, which was very popular, 30 years ago, where the main character is cooking, makes people intensely feel the emotions that she is having at the time. So depending on how she cooks and what she cooks and bakes and so on, people experience the emotions. So, okay. So the ideas show up everywhere, really. I mean, it's not as though they're particular to a culture. But where magical things happen and the people in the story say, oh yeah, that's real. They're not in denial. That doesn't mean that it's a Wonderland fairy tale kind of story in the sense that everything is amazing. But the reality has these sort of blurred edges to it, and it's not exactly clear what is and isn't possible. So when we look at Tecla's fight, for instance, with the Virgin, this is one of these examples, and this is a very tough scene. I mean, her son has been killed, and he's a boy. He's a teen, right? And she has to somehow come to grips with this terrible thing. Now she knows that if word gets out that there was a death, and it doesn't matter really who it was that caused the death, that each side is going to assume that the other side caused the death. So the Christians are going to assume it was the Muslims are going to assume it was the Christians, and there is going to be a war. They're going to go back to war. The men of the town are going to empty out. They're going to go back to fighting, and nobody will return. So she knows that they will lose another generation, and everybody who has hopes, because they've sort of been existing in peace, and you see this tolerance, and it's a love story initially, it looks like, well, that's all going to end. So Tecla has to absorb the pain, basically, of this and not reveal it, which is brutal. And, I mean, it's in some ways, it certainly compounds the pain. I mean, she cannot talk about it. She cannot admit that it happened. And this is going to stress her it's going to take all the strength she has. But first, what she's going to do is come in and attack the Virgin. Okay, so let's look at that.
انزلي من عندك. انت مش انت مني انت هيك تاخدي من العيلة بدون ما تسألي بأي حق تاخديني ايه بدون ما تسأليني وين كنت ليه ما حمدي شو كنت عم تعملي مستيكي ما بقى خليكي تشوفي صورة وجهي الله لا يخليني زي ما تخليك تدقي بولد العالم